Okay. We ready? I'm running way behind today. We have graduate students, incoming graduate students visiting in the department, and I've been trying to sell Berkeley really hard all morning, so it's not that hard, but if you talk into advertising all morning, I'm exhausted. It's time to talk about some economics. There's an exam on Thursday, right? This should not be news to anybody. Midterm 2, you've got old midterms, you've got old answers, you've got answers to problem sets, you've got books, you've got notes, you've got iTunes U, you've got GSIs, you've got my office hours, you've got a review session from 5 to 6 today, that one. So there's enough economic resources around to prepare you for this exam, I would argue. If you don't think that's enough, I don't know how to help you, all right? But there's a lot here. The exam's written, it's beautiful. Don't hack into my computer, all right? Just study, because studying won't get you kicked out of Berkeley. That should be a bumper sticker. So Thursday's exam, then we have after that 3 more weeks, right, of classes? Yes? Come on, that's just rude. I'll miss you guys. I really will. I don't teach again until January after this. Okay, so where are we at? What is wrong with you? Oh no. Oh no, but this is a different program now. Boy. All right, give me 1 second. There's issues. Actually, there are issues, not there is issues. All right, here we go. Sorry about that. So what we did last time is we started this consumer/producer/welfare analysis part of the course, and this will be with you till the end of the course. It's really important, simply because what we're looking at, what happens to markets as we interfere with these or intervene in these markets. So welfare analysis, we looked at assuming you have a perfectly competitive market, what happens if you impose a price floor, or a price ceiling, or you limit the number of firms, right? We showed that in all 3 scenarios, there's deadweight loss, and society is worse off than would we have left that market alone. Then we started talking about imports, which I thought was pretty exciting. So we assumed that, you're a small country, you have the choice between buying stuff from your domestic producers or buying stuff on the world market, and then we wanted to compare what happens if we leave this country alone versus we ban all imports. And we showed that a ban on imports results in huge amounts of deadweight loss, but producers have significant gains from this ban on imports. Then I started getting all confused because it's, I don't know what month it is even. March? April? April. It's April and we're all tired. We started talking about a quota, right? And I drew that up for you and it got really messy and people started having these big eyes. So let's do the quota again quickly. And then we'll do a third restriction on trade, which is going to be a tariff, where instead of limiting the physical number of units you can import, we put a fee on imports, right? And we will see what happens to welfare if we charge, for example, French makers of wine a per unit tariff on each bottle of wine imported to the United States. Then we're quickly going to look at general equilibrium for about 10 seconds, and then we're going to start looking at monopolies, all right, which are awesome. I love monopoly. Actually, it's my second favorite model. My very favorite model is monopolistic competition, and we'll do that one after this one. In case you're wondering, today's stuff is not on this exam. It is on the final note, so thank you for showing up. All right, this chair is not good. All right, let's worry about an import quota. So what do we have? On the y-axis here, we have dollars. On the x-axis, we have quantity. What we have is we have a bunch of domestic producers who produce whatever good we're looking at here. Could be wheat, could be wine, could be cheese. Doesn't really matter. And this is the domestic supply of the commodity we're looking at. So domestic producers. Then there's a world market for this commodity. And this country is small enough that it can buy as much as it wants at a constant price DW. So if it ramps up its demand, world price isn't going to change. So this is not the US and oil markets, because if the US ramps up its demand, oil price goes up, right? This is sort of Switzerland and wheat markets. They are domestic producers of wheat in Switzerland, but they're not very big. But even if Switzerland doubles its consumption of wheat in order to make bread, it's not going to move the world price of wheat, okay? Then there's always a demand curve. And the domestic demand for this commodity is this demand curve right here. So if I leave this market alone, supply is going to be, we buy from domestic producers until it becomes cheaper to buy on the world market, and you get this kinked supply curve right here. And this is supply under free trade. Now the policy I'm interested in is saying, well, consumers get to consume Q star units, domestic producers get to produce Q DOM units, and the difference between Q star and Q DOM, that's going to be imports. Now you have some presidential hopeful. It's election season. Can you smell it? It started 2 days ago. Oh, it's going to be a stressful 16 months. So some presidential hopeful has some genius idea that limiting imports by half seems like a good policy. So he or she hires Max to analyze whether this is a good idea. So here's what Max would do. Max applies what he knows, which is I'm going to figure out what supply is under this quota, and then I'm going to figure out what the relevant quantity and price are, and then I'm going to figure out what consumer and producer surplus are under the 2 scenarios and compare them, right? This is what I'm going to do. So in order to figure out what supply is under this genius plan, I'm still going to buy from domestic producers, and I'm going to keep on going until, whoa, at this point right here, I'm hitting a hard wall. I'm only going to get to import 50% from what I was able to import before. So the way I drew this like this nice symmetric X here, that's exactly halfway through here. So you get to import until here, and then the quota bites, okay? So this is the quota. So what do I have to do after that? After that, I can't buy on world markets anymore. I have to buy from domestic producers. So domestic production, right? Domestic producers produced until here, and then they stopped. Then we went to foreign producers, but now we're just going to re-engage, right? Like in Star Trek, domestic producers. So basically, they pick up where they left off. So what happens here is that my new supply curve, essentially, roughly like this, right? This is now my domestic supply curve that I've simply shifted over because I've hit the pause button on domestic producers for this commodity. And after I've imported as much as I can from foreign producers, I simply re-engage my domestic producers. So now the equilibrium quantity and price is going to be where my new supply curve with the quota intersects demand. So this is going to be quantity. This here is going to be price. It's different from what happened under the free market. This chair is even worse. I'm going to start not only bringing my own ruler, I'm only going to start bringing my own chair too. Okay, so this, let's call this P double star. And this here, Q double star. Okay, so now what I want to figure out is what are the welfare consequences of this policy. So I'm going to figure out consumer surplus, domestic producer surplus, and welfare. I'm just going to not care about foreign producers, which if you're a presidential hopeful is roughly the way you look at the world anyway. Q star, and then I'm going to compare that to what happens at Q double star. Okay. Here comes the tricky part. Okay. Which pizza slices should I use? And this is one of these scenarios where you're like, wow, I have absolutely no idea. So when you're not sure about which pizza slices to use, just chop things up into finer pieces, right? It's better to have more pizza slices than to not have enough. So I'm going to go and chop this thing up into a couple of pieces. I'm going to make some more pieces here. Let me make that in yellow so we're all in one color here. And I'm also going to make a couple more here. Let's see. All right, so let me chop this up. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. I always skip I and put J. All right. I was a baseball game until like 10:30 last night. I'm a little tired. Good baseball game though. All right. A is this area right here. B is this area. C is this thing. D, this triangle. E, this. F, this. G, that. H, that. J, that. Ooh, Max, you left one out. You didn't label this triangle. You're right. Let's call that one K. Right? I'm just being a little bit lighthearted here to not make you take pizza slicing too seriously. Right? There is no right or wrong number of pizza slices. The GSI would encourage you to be parsimonious and not slice too much because grading a picture with 40 of these is really hard. But, if you're great, be nice to your GSI, so make that trade-off right here. So let's figure out what welfare is at Q star PW, and then let's figure out what welfare is at P double star Q double star. So at Q star PW, it's pretty easy, right? So consumer surplus, and I've missed one more. We'll see this in a second why. Right? Consumer surplus is going to be the area between price, right? Every unit is charged PW, and demand over the range of consumption. So it's going to be this big triangle here, A, B, C, D, E, K, F, G, H, J. A lot of consumer surplus. Oh. All right. This will be fun. A, B, C. This is not going to fit in here. D, E, K, A, B, C, D, E, K, F, G, H, J. F, G, H, J. Okay, that's consumer surplus. What's domestic producer surplus? Well, it's the area. It's the area between price above supply over the range of production. So it's this triangle right here. And this will happen to you, right? You will go through your rules and you will realize that you didn't label an area. Don't panic. Nothing's lost. Just add a letter, right? So we're at K. How about L? So that's L. So domestic producer surplus is L. So total welfare is A, B, C, D, E, K, F, G, H, J, and L. I realize I'm being slightly ridiculous, but that's just the way I do things. But again, to say it one last time, you can't chop areas into too many pieces. Just go wild, right? We'll see that this actually pays off here in a way that's quite convenient in a second. So now if we want to figure out what welfare is under Q double star right here, right, and P double star, let's use our rule. Consumer surplus is the difference between demand, the price, over the range of consumption. So it's going to be this triangle A, C, K, and F. A, C, K, and F. What's domestic producer surplus? Ooh, this is going to be tough. Scary. Get your blood pressure back down. Keep breathing, all right? Apply your rule. It's the distance between price and supply over the range of production, right? So this is price. This is domestic supply. So producer surplus, or part of producer surplus, is going to be the distance between price and supply over the range of production. So it's definitely P plus L, but domestic producers also produce a little bit over here. So again, it's the distance between price and supply over this range of production. So it's going to be B plus L plus G. So this is not a convex set, okay? It's chopped off, weird, and you would have not figured this out by simply guessing. The only way you figure this out is by applying your rules. Because the range of production here now is going to be from 0 to Q dom, and then again from right here to right out here. So there's this little piece producer surplus G that you would have missed otherwise. All right? Question. That's the next one. All right? So what happened to D and E here? Who produces that? I want you to answer that. Sorry. Foreign producers, right? So who likes this? Well, the marginal cost of foreign producers is PW, right? That's the world price. That's the marginal cost of production. They get P double star dollars. So what's D and E? Well, that's the difference between the world price and what foreign producers actually collect by selling their goods in the U.S. under a quota over how much they actually sell in the U.S. So D and E under a quota is simply a transfer of what used to be consumer surplus, domestic consumer surplus, to foreign producers in terms of profits or producer surplus, right? So D and E under a quota is being sent abroad to foreign producers from domestic consumers. Do consumer advocacy groups like that in the U.S.? No. Do governments that want to be voted for like this? No, right? Which is why quotas are not very popular, but the thing I'm about to show you in a second, which is a tariff, are. So a tariff is a way to actually recapture this area D and E here by the domestic regulator, right? There was a question in the front. Sorry, this lady right here had her hand up before. Did that answer your question? Okay. Sorry. No. You gotta apply the rules straight up. One thing is true, right? For geometric reasons, the area D and area G have the same area, but that's just geometry because this distance is the same, and this supply curve right here is this moved over. So D and G are the same area, right? So before, the price was PW, right? That's the price before. Demand is the red line. So A, C, K, F, D, D, E, G, H, and J were all consumer surplus. Now, B is captured by producers. D and E goes to foreign producers. G is captured by producers, which leaves me with a deadweight loss of H and J, right? So let's figure out that indeed the deadweight loss is H and J. So total welfare here is now going to be A, C, K, F, D, L, and G. If you cancel these out, you are left with, we could do this if we wanted to. B cancels out, A cancels out, C cancels out. What else cancels out? K must cancel out. Sorry, K. F cancels out, L cancels out, and where's D? Here. D cancels out. So the change in welfare now is going to be minus D, minus E, minus J, minus H. Okay, so D, E, H, and J are lost to domestic producers and consumers. D and E are recovered by foreign producers, and H and J disappears into thin air in terms of deadweight loss. If you use different textbooks, some will call D, E, H, and J deadweight loss. I consider just H and J deadweight loss. But on an exam, I've asked this on 3 past exams, a version of this question, so if you forecast rationally, the probability of me asking this question on Thursday's midterm is very, very low, right? And I'm not going to bug you with trivialities like this. But I think the intuition from a political economy point of view is foreign producers like this, domestic consumers don't like it, and there's a welfare loss in terms of H and J right here, which is not recovered by anybody. All right, that's the import quota. How about a tariff max? Excellent question. Let's do it. So the Max files his report with some presidential campaign, and says this is a dumb idea. A, you're sending money abroad to foreign producers. Nobody's going to vote for that. And B, there's deadweight loss. If you must limit imports, what you should do is you should charge people to sell stuff in your country. So let's figure out what that looks like. What that looks like is as follows. Dollars, quantity, same scenario. Okay. Here's my domestic supply. Stick with the right color scheme here. Here's my demand. And world price was at 3 squares. Okay. TW. Okay? We know, I don't have to draw this for you, that this is Q star if we leave the market alone. Equilibrium price will be the world price. Equilibrium quantity transacted will be Q star. So now what I want to figure out is instead of saying, well, you may only import up to here, I'm not going to put physical restrictions on how much you may import. Instead, I'm going to charge a tariff per unit sold on foreign production. A tariff, a number of dollars per unit sold. That sounds familiar. What does that sound like? Specific tax, all right? Sounds like a specific tax. What did the specific tax do to our supply curve? Shifted it up by the amount of the specific tax. So this here, the tariff is not imposed on domestic producers, it's only imposed on foreign producers. So what this does is it shifts up the foreign price here, or the foreign part of the supply curve, by the amount of the tariff. It's like a specific tax on imports, right? If it were a pure specific tax, it would be charged on domestic producers and foreign producers. A tariff is only a specific tax only on foreign producers. So now, the world price is no longer PW, but it's PW plus tau, where tau is the tariff. So what happens to my supply curve, right? Before, the supply curve was what it was before. That's how we got to Q star and PW. Now what happens to my supply curve? Well, world price has risen because of the tariff, so I'm going to go still up my domestic producer supply curve, but I'm going to keep on going until domestic producer price is equal to the new world price, which is PW plus whatever the government artificially raises the price of imports by, which is tau. So now, my supply curve is kinked again, but it's a hockey stick that's a little bit further up, right? So the green thing here, this is supply without the tariff. Red here, this is supply with the tariff. Okay, so the new equilibrium quantity here is going to be Q double star. So before, domestic producers produced this much, QD1. Now domestic producers produce this much, QD2. So what happened here? A lot happened here. Right? Let's walk through it intuitively for a second. Right? Before the tariff, we bought from domestic producers until it was cheaper to buy on the world market, and this is my supply. Right? So supply is this hockey stick right here. Demand is this, so equilibrium quantity is Q star. Equilibrium price is PW. Now, the price of world commodities or stuff I import rises by tau, so I keep on walking higher and higher and higher until I'm again indifferent between buying from domestic producers and foreign producers, and I walk across. So my supply curve now is still this hockey stick, but it's kinked at a higher level. So the new equilibrium quantity is Q double star, and the new equilibrium price is PW plus tau. So now, domestic producers produce more than before, right? They're in the market for longer, and overall quantity is less, right? Equilibrium quantity used to be Q star, and is now Q double star. In fact, imports before were Q star minus QD1, so this area right here. Now, imports are Q double star minus QD2, right? So imports shrink from, I don't know how to do this, shrink from here to here. Right? Imports go down because foreign products become more expensive. Not rocket science. Now, the rocket science part is how do you do the welfare of this particular piece of counterfactual policy analysis? Same way we always do it, right? Make some pizza slices, let's use the alphabet, and let's figure out what these things are. So I'm going to stare at this for a second, right? So when Max stares at this because he left his notes on his office desk, what happens is he looks at the same way you should, is he looks at what's the price before, right? What's the demand curve? So I know consumer surplus before is going to be this big triangle right here. Domestic producer surplus before is going to be this little triangle right here. Now price is going to be higher, right? Price is higher, so consumer surplus is going to be this triangle right here. Domestic producer surplus is going to be